At the beginning of her 1951 book, The Sea Around Us, Rachel Carson, the marine biologist and author whose writings are considered foundational to the environmental awareness movement, describes the emergence of humans from the salty sea hundreds of millions of years ago, detailing how, when our species made this transition, we took some of that brine with us in the 70% of liquid that comprises our bodies. She implicitly challenges assumptions of self as something individually and temporally bounded. She wrote, "When they went ashore, the animals that took up a land life carried with them a part of the sea in their bodies, a heritage which they passed on to their children, and which even today links each land animal with its origin in the ancient sea. Fish, amphibian and reptile, warm-blooded bird and mammal. Each of us carries in our veins a salty stream in which the elements sodium, potassium and calcium are combined in almost the same proportions as in seawater. This is our inheritance from the day untold millions of years ago, when a remote ancestor, having progressed from the one-celled to the many-celled stage, first developed a circulatory system in which the fluid was merely the water of the sea." One of the most striking things about this account is how it generates a narrative of epic consequence and scope via attention to the most fragmentary and subcellular detail. It uncannily foreshadows recent theoretical and empirical insights in microbiology that are revealing interrelationships and overlaps between organisms and their environments that are far more profound than previously imagined. I think about these questions of scale and interconnection and the salty residue within us as I make this broth. This is a loose recipe which can be changed according to the availability of ingredients and individual mood or preference, and which results in a soup, which is a suspension, vegetables in broth, and which has as its base a solution, stock brewed from the leftover parts of the main ingredients. The soup reminds me of magnified photographs of seawater, where tiny droplets reveal the assemblages of beings within them, or of magnifications of our insides, which showed the multitude of entities that live in our gut, our microbiome, which sways our thoughts and bodies in blurry ways. The soup is kind to those inner communities too. It contains 3 different ingredients from the vegetable category known as the lily family: red onion, spring onion and garlic, which are said to be especially good for the health of the gut. The zoologist Margaret McFall Nagai has written about how the development of our categorization of the biological world is linked to how we perceive. The ways we see unfold our understandings. As different technologies of magnification developed, McFall Nagai writes, different ways of categorizing life emerged. Donna Haraway uses the example of a type of bacteria that upon magnification reveals its multiplicity. This bacteria, which she calls everyone's favourite critter, helps in explaining the complexity of individuality and symbiosis. Under low magnification, Haraway quotes the biologist Lynn Margulis. The bacterium appears as a single-celled swimming ciliate. With the electron microscope, however, it is seen to consist of 5 distinct kinds of creatures. Under different conditions of looking, it exhibits itself as different things. Zooming in or out, groupings shift. It is like this with humans too. Closing in on the stuff that makes us up, it becomes unclear where our boundaries are. Parts of us move across to others. We contaminate and absorb. After we are understood to die, bacteria from our gut live on, and even catalyse the decomposition of our cells. Food offers more blatant evidence of our unbounded and contingent selves. Although culturally imposed etiquette and taboo around acts of ingestion and waste have long operated to obfuscate or distract from the obvious, we are what we eat. And just as our food enmeshes our bodily selves into the wider material world, preparing it also does. We're called to look closely when we prepare food, but the process is expansive too. We're always working within certain constraints in certain environments. We are acting and being acted upon. The tiny bacteria we cannot see, the person or people we need to feed, the journey of our food, the implications of its sourcing, leftovers. Broth can soothe us when we're unwell. It is easy to consume but contains just the elements we need, at its best lovingly drawn out over time, making much of little, using what is available, seasoned generously, and passed to you with two hands, one for the bowl and one that checks your forehead or rubs your back. As I make this stock, I speculate that maybe the closer the broth matches that original sea, the more good it will do, the more it will speak to our intrinsic salty interconnectedness. Today my baby has a cough, and because it is a time when a cough opens up a chasm of concern and terror, I find myself bubbling a pot of stock, not sure if it's for me or for them.